Hello again, everybody. Great to be along. My name is Scott Murray, and I've been asked to serve as an interviewer of a gentleman that has spent a lot of time in the great city of Dallas, Texas, the great state of Texas, but more importantly, also spent some time in the National Football League and is what I call a difference maker. And I'll tell you all about this gentleman, but I was asked, first of all, to introduce myself for those of you that might not know who I might be. My name is Scott Murray, and for over 30 years, I was a television sports anchor and just enjoyed talking about the great athletes and heroes and iconic individuals that we've all come to cheer and emulate over the years. And there are that select few that have also turned out to be incredible role models. And as a matter of fact, I wrote a book called Whatever It Takes, Life Lessons Learned Through Sports Legends. And the gentleman that I'm going to be sharing some thoughts with today is one of those people. He's a real difference maker in this world, and that's what we certainly need more of in this time. So that's about it for me. I was lucky to be a multi-Emmy award-winning broadcaster and spent a lot of time with just some incredible athletes over the years and really have some great friends that still to this day I cherish. But I left a little early to retired a little early to go into business with my son. And he had gone to Baylor and then spent a little time at TCU. And we have a broadcast company, now a virtual broadcast company, I might add, called Murray Media. So we have a lot of fun meeting a lot of people and doing a lot of great things. So if you need some help, murraymedia.net is where you can find out more information about us than you'd ever care to be a part of. But that's what we do. The highlight of my career was not going to the Super Bowl or covering the Olympics, was going to Normandy on the 70th anniversary of D-Day with 24 World War II vets with my son and sharing their story, putting together a documentary. And as it turned out, we were both lucky enough to both win an Emmy. So certainly in the highlight of my career to be able to do something like that with my son, especially since my dad was in World War II. So we're here today to talk about difference makers. And the gentleman I'm about to introduce to you is indeed the ultimate difference maker in his world. He's a student that spent a lot of time at St. Mark's School. Yes, sir, in Dallas. Academic honor roll, not once, not twice, not 3 years, but all 4 years in high school. Yeah, that's pretty impressive, isn't it? University of Texas after that, down in Austin. How about a GPA of 3.62? That's right. Very impressive. He was awarded the Campbell Trophy, and that's given annually to one person. One person gets the Campbell Trophy, and it's given to college football's top scholar athlete. Doesn't get much better than that. He also received the Werfel Award, the Werfel Trophy, and that's given for outstanding service, philanthropy service, community service, making a difference in the lives of those that really need it most. Just being, as I said, that difference maker. Also named by the Sporting News as one of the 20, and I'm laughing at this, but I'm going, wow, this is a list. One of the 20 smartest athletes in all of sports, not just football, all sports in all of America. Woof, that's good stuff. 4th round draft pick in the National Football League draft back in 2011 by the Arizona Cardinals, and then was there through 2014, 2015 to 2018, headed up to Chicago, spent some time with Walter Payton's team. Remember Walter Payton? Yes, indeed, one of the great running backs of our day with the Chicago Bears. And now he's even thinking about broadcasting. When I talked to him earlier yesterday, speaks 3 languages, English, Spanish, and the third one, I'm going to have to ask him how to pronounce it because I have no earthly idea what it is. So I'll simply say, ladies and gentlemen, the one, the only, the difference maker of the day here in October in the midst of this pandemic, Samuel Acho. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing great, and I'm so glad to be here with you all. Scott, thank you for the generous introduction. I think in a lot of ways I'm just trying to keep up with you. I'm trying to get an Emmy on my bucket list.
Well, I tell you what. To do one with your son like I did, that was above and beyond. I had one son doing sportscasting, and that was really special. But it didn't get much better than doing that with your son. Let me ask you this. English, Spanish, and is it Igbo?
Igbo. So it's pronounced Igbo. My parents were both born and raised in Nigeria.
Oh, I see.
Absolutely. And so Igbo is one of there's 82 different dialects in Nigeria, and Igbo is one of the main 3. And so I can hear a lot more than I can speak, but I can get by over there in Nigeria.
Well, I tell you what, I want to have a little fun with you, and we will be serious, but I tell you what, I mean this with all sincerity. When I saw what you had done academically in school, at St. Mark's, which is certainly one of the premier private schools in not just Texas, but all in America, all of America. I see St. Mark's, I see what you did at UT Austin, and then to go on to the National Football League and be, you know, in one of the top 20 smartest athletes in all of America. Congratulations, really. And I mean that, I'm not kidding. To me, education is the one thing that our country lacks, and civility and education. And just outstanding. Good for you. Where did that all come from?
Yeah, well, it really came from my parents. I think growing up, obviously, my parents were first generation Americans. They were born and raised in Nigeria, and they came over in their early 20s. And especially when you're an immigrant coming to this country, oftentimes education is the only way out. And so for us in our family, our parents really, really stressed education. I know God gave me a gift. I love learning. So I can recite Shakespeare. I can tell you pi to the 14th decimal. I can recite the Canterbury Tales of Middle English. I just really have this passion for learning. And that took me a long way in high school. It took me obviously to college and being in the business honors program and having a double major in marketing as well. And also, a lot of people don't know this. I talk about it. It's a bit of a teaser in my book, but I went back, and while I was in the NFL, I got my MBA from the #1 international business school in the nation, in the world, really, actually. And I didn't tell anybody. I didn't tell anyone because I think somewhere down the line, I got a little bit afraid of what are people going to think. I mean, the NFL, and you're supposed to be this big, bad, only, singularly focused guy. And I was like, guys, I want to go. And I went to the school called the Thunderbird School of Global Management, really enjoyed it. But yeah, education has always been a passion of mine. It's been something I've really cared about a lot.
Well, I'll tell you what, I don't know what the secret is. First of all, I salute your parents, because hats off to them. I'm sure that's where it came from. But we need more parents like your mom and dad that let their children know the importance and the doors that education can open for the rest of their lives. And we just don't have that in America the way we used to. It's just so sad. And I just, I'm most impressed, really. And I'm very serious when I say this. Good for you, Sam. It's just, and you have children of your own, so I'm sure you're going to instill that same focus that, hey, get out there, have fun, enjoy your life, do your thing with your friends and whatever. But education, it's the thing that's going to open up any door you want it to open.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it really is. Well, I think that's fantastic. It's just got a little dark in here. There's a switch that I've got on this back part of the office that's on a timer. And every 15 minutes, if I don't move around, it goes off. So fortunately, I've got this light here, so I won't be totally in the dark. Yeah. But I just, somebody must have heard me and walked around out there. But at any rate, it's just a joy to have you. And I just think it's great about the education. I really am most impressed about that. Well, let's talk about, I do want you to talk about Canterbury, and you talk about Shakespeare and some other stuff like that. You were kidding with me yesterday before we get to sports and talk about some of the other things we're here today to talk about. Can you share with us if you got something you learned, or Shakespeare, or friends, Roman countrymen, lend me your ears, or whatever?
I come to marry Caesar, not to raise him, right?
That's it.
I think one quick thing, so in high school, I think maybe 8th grade, sophomore year, so I'm very achievement oriented, and
I kind of threw you a curve here. We weren't going to talk about this, but
this is great. No, this is great. This is great. So long story short, I got a chance to memorize the Canterbury Tales, the prologue, and I knew you'd get 10 points if you get it in English, but they said if you do it in Middle English, as it was written, you'd get 20 points. And so I decided to memorize the Canterbury Tales, the prologue in Middle English. So here we go. Wander April with his sure salter, the drought of March had passed through the altar, and bothered every vein and switched the cord of which thereto endendered is the floor. One's at fit sake with a sway to breath, and spirit hath in every halt and hath. The tender crop is on the younger sooner than the ram is all coursed on. Then pricketh him not hoor and hear courageous, then longer folk to go on pilgrimages. And Pomerus for to sicken strandis, to ferne howlis couth and sundry landis, and specially from every share is end, from England to Canterbury they wend, the holy blissful martyr for to sake, temeth open, one that they were sake.
Unbelievable. I tell you what, I don't have anything to say. That is most impressive. And I think the thing that I'm most impressed by is the fact that even to this day, you cherish those moments and the time that you took to memorize that. It's not just about tackling somebody on the other side of the, the line of scrimmage. It's about making a difference in your life. Good for you. And I hope you'll share stuff like that with your kiddos. That's above and beyond, Sam. Well done. That is
Thank
really
you.
something.
Thanks
How long
so
did it take you to memorize that?
It probably took me a couple of weeks. I just remember really wanting to get an A in this class, and so I would go and listen. I believe it was Tom Hanks who had said it, so I just listened to this audio recording of Tom Hanks. Probably just kept on going it's 18 lines, line by line for a couple of weeks, and it just stuck. For whatever reason, it just stuck, and I'm trying and I can't get it out.
Don't get it out. Leave it there. Well done. Well done. Well, we talk about sports, and I just am curious. I talked to Herschel Walker on a podcast a couple of weeks ago about all that we're enduring in this country now, and it just it's kind of funny because a couple of years ago I created a speech. It's not a presentation. It's a talk that you go to corporations or schools or wherever. It's called Creating Champions of Change Through a Culture of Civility. And it has to do with all that we're enduring now, that people just don't understand how to be kind, courteous, and respectful of one another, despite what race, creed, color, religion, whatever they might be. It's get along, get a smile on your face, have fun, do things together, and don't look at somebody, oh, he's not like me, oh, he's not like me, he doesn't vote like me, he doesn't do this. It just, we get along, we're friendly, we have fun. Just like you probably had guys from different walks with the Chicago Bears, with the Arizona Cardinals, whatever. But and now in this pandemic, I think to myself, how crazy is this, that all the things that, we put that thing, the young lady that I do this thing with, we put that together. And the whole idea is all based on C's. It's courage, commitment, character, compassion, and conversation. Not confrontation, conversation, just like you and I are having a good time. So it's so sad. And yet you see things, what has taken place in it's close to a year now, or well over half a year, 3/4 of a year. I just wondered how happy you are, I'm sure, to see that football has returned. Just the fact that they're on the field. Cowboys had a tough go of it, thus far this year. They lost their starting quarterback and what have you. But it's one of those things that you want everything to get back to norm as best you can. Like to put the people in the stands and have everybody cheer, and that's my team, and those are my guys, and I'm sure you're glad to see a little of that football come back, huh?
Yeah, it's definitely been interesting these last few months, not only with the pandemic, right? It's been over 6 months since March, and this pandemic is going on not only in this nation, but across several nations. Right. And also seeing the conversation about racial equity, not only in sport, but also throughout the country. For me, it was really cool getting a chance to be a part of some of those conversations, but not only the conversations, also part of the action. I have some friends who play in the WNBA, and some of the work that they did around racial justice, racial equity. The name, they had the shirts they wore that said "Say Her Name" in reference to Breonna Taylor, and you saw that in the NBA, right? I got some friends who play in the NBA, and they sat out. They were striking. They said, "Man, we might stop the NBA playoffs. We might stop playing in order to bring some awareness, to shine a light on some of the issues that are going on in our country." Not only that, I know that a big deal is the conversation, as we talked about, but also the action, right? For me, getting a chance, even in the midst of this pandemic, after seeing what was going on with the murder of George Floyd and Ahmaud Arbery and seeing Breonna Taylor and all these things, and me as a Black man in America who happens to be an athlete, like, I was hurting, I was sad, I was angry, and in all reality, I was in tears. I think it was early July, maybe late June. I was in tears, just crying, saying, what is going on? And all of a sudden, an idea came to my head. I said, well, one of the things I love to do, I love bringing people together. Love bringing people together, in a lot of ways, throwing parties. And so I said, man, what if I just got together some people, some pro athletes from the city of Chicago? I played for the Bears for 4 years, very well connected there. So I got together some pro athletes, and we not only just went to protest, which protesting is positive, right? But also, what if we not only went to protest, but also went to go listen to some of the kids in the community? You talk, Scott, a lot about conversation. And so that's what we did. I called up a local nonprofit leader in the city, an organization that we spent a lot of time with. And I said, hey, what do your kids need? They service kids, a lot of 13, 14, 15-year-old kids, African-American, predominantly a lot of Hispanic American students. I said, what do they need? Do they need us to send a tweet on their behalf? They need us to reach out to what do they need? And one of this nonprofit leader, she said, Sam, honestly, our kids, they need some hope. They need some encouragement. They need somebody to listen to them, right? Obviously, the situation with the pandemic was already bad, but now look at just the state of America. She said, it seems like our situation has become dire. So they just need someone to sit and listen. And that's what we did. So I got a chance to get together pro athletes from the Chicago Bears, the Bulls, the Cubs, the Blackhawks, the White Sox, Chicago Sky, even to talk about Walter Payton. Brittany, his daughter, came as well. Walter Payton's daughter came as well. And we sat and we listened to some of the kids in the community. And not only that, it wasn't just pro athletes and kids in the community. We also invited police officers, right? We wanted to get a better understanding, have a conversation and say, okay, let's air all this out and see how we feel. Some of the questions we asked are like a check-in. How do you feel? How are you actually feeling? Some people were saying, man, I feel hopeless. Like nothing's ever going to change. When the officer said, man, I feel like my job and our job as officers is to protect and to serve, but for whatever reason, we forgot about the serve part. We also asked the people in the community who said, okay, well, what can we do to bring change? Is there anything we can do? Some of the kids were saying, man, I don't even know what else I could do. I tried to go clean up the streets, right? Look at the rioting, the looting. I tried to clean up the streets. I tried to go and I can't go to school because of COVID. I don't know what to do. So we sat, we listened. But then after that, we did something a little bit different. After that sitting and listening, we actually decided to take a tour of the west side of Chicago. People know the south side and the west side. Chicago is one of the most, not one of the, it is the most segregated city in America. And we said, okay, let's go take a look at this part of the city that no one ever goes to, right? For y'all, those who don't know, I grew up in Dallas, Texas, right? Imagine a lot of people don't go to South Oak Cliff, if people don't go to some of these areas, right? So we said, well, what if we just went and we looked? The tour, right? Everyone's talking about the looting and the rioting. Let's just go see. And so we did. We got on the bus, socially distanced, and about the 10, 12 of us got on this bus. And we took a 30-minute tour of the west side. And yes, we did see buildings that were boarded up because of the looting, which is, we saw that. But also I asked a guy named Jason Hayward, he's a baseball player for the Chicago Cubs. I said, hey, Jason, what else have you seen? I said, how many, on our 30-minute drive, 30-minute bus tour, how many grocery stores have you counted? How many grocery stores have you seen? He said, honestly, man, I think I've counted one grocery store. I said, okay. I said, how many liquor stores have you seen so far on our bus tour? He looked at me and said, Sam, at least 10. We said, that's a problem. That problem has nothing to do with rioting, nothing to do with looting, nothing to do with protesting. That's a human rights issue. You have a community, and statistics say it's a food desert. Actually, statistically, in a half-mile radius of this neighborhood on the west side of Chicago, there's 2 grocery stores and 17 liquor stores. It's a problem. So we said, well, what if we did something about it, right? It's all about equity and action, right? How do we take action, right? What if we did something? What if we used what we had to go and do something? What if we bought one of the liquor stores and turned it into a food mart? Threw the idea out.
Yeah. Interrupt you for just a sec. Is this your Athletes for Justice program that you brought?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
I think that's important to point out, Sam. Here you are, Sam, an athlete, and you're doing this and you're doing that, and you're playing football, and everybody knows who you are. But this is above and beyond. When I heard about this Athletes for Justice, first of all, I love the name. Very simple, but it speaks to the point about what you're trying to do. So, and everything you've just shared with us is above and beyond. So that's the group that you have, and that's what you're moving forward with. Okay, let me step aside, continue your story. That's great.
Oh, absolutely. That's what we did. We, a couple years prior, right around the time everyone remembers when Colin Kaepernick was taking a knee.
Right.
And no one else was taking a knee. It wasn't popular. It wasn't common. It wasn't like Colin was taking a knee. And I remember the guys on our team, there were some inflammatory comments that were made from the president at the time. And I remember a lot of people being really angry in the locker room. They said, man, like, why would why would he say that? There were some people who just felt uncomfortable. And a lot of guys were ready to protest at that point, to do something, to take a knee, to do something. And so, but we said, man, what if there was something more? In addition to pointing out the injustice, right? Because a lot of progress happens with protest, right? That's huge. But in addition, there can also be action. So at that point, about 2 years ago, we decided to start a nonprofit. We called it Athletes for Justice. Athletes for Justice, getting pro athletes, collegiate athletes, everyday athletes, weekend warriors, anybody who gets on a treadmill and runs, or goes and takes a jog around the block. What if we got athletes together who could stand up for justice causes around their communities, people who cared? And that's what we did. And so we started that, and I got that approved through the IRS, and all of a sudden there was a need, right? I was a marketing major in my class. Dr. McAllister, who was my professor, she always said, find a need and fill it. And so there was a need. So we said, what if we got together and raised some money, right, our own money, and bought a liquor store and turned into a food mart? But before we did that, we said, how about we, instead of just coming in and dropping in and being the heroes, how about we go and ask the kids what they would want, if they would want something like this? So we did. The very next week, we got together with some of the kids in the community again. We said, hey, would you even want a grocery store in your community, a food mart? And they said, well, absolutely. We said, okay, well, where do you get your food from now? And the kids in this community said, well, we get our food from the gas station. We said, okay, well, where else? It can't just be the gas station. Where else? They said, well, if it's not there, we'll go to McDonald's. I said, okay, well, where do you get your healthy food from? Where do you get like something organic, right? Where do you go get organic food? They said, honestly, Sam, if we want to get something organic, we have to drive 45 minutes to the next city to get something organic. Yes, Sam, there's a need for a grocery store in our community. So we asked them, well, what do you want it to look like? So they went about, they designed it, they met with architects, right? We raised this money and built what is now called Austin Harvest, a fresh food mart in the community on the west side of Chicago called Austin, right? The Austin community. And now it's up, it's running, and it's open for business. So talking about equity in action, it's not just talking about it, it's not just tweeting about it, it's taking action, whether it's being a protest, whether it's being getting people together and buying a liquor store, turning into a food mart. At that, we had a, people know I love throwing parties. We had a liquor store tear down party in which I invited Roger Goodell, and he showed up. We invited the superintendent of the Chicago Police Department. He showed up. And we invited Mayor Lori Lightfoot of the city of Chicago, and she showed up along with the pro athletes and the police and the kids to this liquor store tear down party. Now that's just one example, right? Of something that I was able to do. But it's not just that, right? We all have our different gifts. We all have our different spheres of influence. We all have our different abilities. And so the goal is, if you want to make action, find what you have and use it. Find what you have and use it.
Well, I'll tell you, that's above and beyond. Yeah. And when I heard about this Athletes for Justice, I thought, all right, I like the title. It speaks to what it's supposed to be about. And then I read about the liquor store and and I go, wow. And I had no idea. I've heard about the issues that they've had in Chicago and the neighborhoods and what have you. But 17 liquor stores and two stores with food. I mean, my gosh, it's so sad. And I can only imagine what it's like to be a child, a boy or a girl, trying to move along in their life, grow up, get it right, do it right, and have to live in that environment. That's kind of tough. So good for you. Congratulations. Let me do this then. I'm kind of going out of order what I had here though, but I also know about your book, Let the World See You. And you certainly let the world see you and what you can do and be, as I introduced you at the very top, Sam, that difference maker. One of the things that I always sign off with on my weekly radio show is live your life as a go-getter, but share your life as a go-giver. And that's what you continue to do, obviously, every single day. So thumbs up for you. That's good stuff. So let the world see you. The title, where'd it come from? What are we going to read about in the book?
Absolutely. Well, this book just came out a couple weeks ago, and it's about what it means to be seen, to be known, and to be loved. And it's available anywhere books are sold. It actually got up to number one bestseller in the football categories and football biographies, but by no means is it a football biography. Thank you, Scott. It's a book about what it means to use your gifts, to use the gifts that you have and use them for good. For me as a football player, really being more than just a football player, I love getting people together. I love sitting, listening, learning. I use those gifts and it inspired action. And so For anybody who's interested, it's on Amazon, anywhere you get your books, but it's called Let the World See You, How to Be Real in a World Full of Fakes.
Most rewarding part. I've written a couple of books myself. When I finished the book, I kind of looked at it and I read through, I like it. Ooh, I could have changed this. Oh, should I do this? You know what it's like. You second guess yourself over and over. How about you? What are the things that you're proudest of, or the things that you know what? That's it. We got it right. I'm real proud of this.
Yeah, there's two things. Number one, the most rewarding part for me is actually twofold. Was I got a chance to listen to the audiobook. We hired a man by the name of Percy to record the audiobook and listen to the audiobook. And I was on a flight just recently and I listened to the whole thing. And while listening, I cried, I laughed, I emoted, right? So for me, those are the emotions I want people to feel when they read this book. When you read it, you're going to laugh, you're going to cry, you're going to join this journey with me. But what was just as rewarding is hearing the response from both football people and non-football people, right? Some of my former teammates have read the book and said, man, it's unbelievable. Thank you so much for sharing. And then some people who have no idea about football have read the book and said, man, thank you so much for writing this. And so those have been probably the two most rewarding pieces for me.
Talk about the biggest concerns that you have in our world today. You've addressed a lot of things, from liquor stores that were changed to food stores so that the children in this world could simply have what we all have every single day. But I just wondered, biggest concerns, 2 or 3 things that come to mind that you say, you know what, this is where we really need to focus and move forward and come together as a country again.
The biggest opportunity, I believe, for our country, for our people, for us as individuals, is us. It's us. What I mean by that, it's our hearts. A lot of us, I believe, it's so easy to harden your heart and say, well, this person doesn't look like me, so I'm not going to worry about them, or they don't think like me. They're not in the same socioeconomic status as I am. So I need to take care of me and mine. And I believe that's a concern. And just based off of, right, people who know me, right, there's biblical principles about like taking care of the least of these, right? Like speaking up for those who can't speak up for themselves. There's this idea that when you love your neighbor as yourself, everybody thrives. But when you try and get all you can, and then you can all you get, and then you sit on your can, you think you're thriving, but you're really suffocating you and those around you. So the biggest concern, but the biggest opportunity is for us to come together and realize that just because someone doesn't look like me, think like me, act like me, dress like me, I still need to love them as if they were me.
Good point. Good point. I've often been asked, hey, Scott, what's on your bucket list? And I'll think to myself, well, let's see. And I've got some fun things on my bucket list. And I got some things that I wanted to do since I was 10 years old on my bucket list. Don't know if I'll ever get a chance to get them in my bucket list. You know how that goes. So I just wondered, Sam, are there 3 things, whether you thought of them, now you're what, 30, 32 years old? Okay. You're still a young man, and you think to yourself, gosh, since 10, I wanted to do this, do this, do this, do this. And now this year, I just found out, hey, I could do this. Again, I'll step aside. 3 things on that bucket list that Sam would like to be a part of before all is said and done.
Yeah, well, the biggest thing is I want billions of people to be affected by the message of the book, right? What it means to be seen, to be known, to be loved. I want everyone to their lives to be changed by that message, number 1. Number 2, it's more of a personal thing. I've always wanted to spend some time in Spain. I'm a big kind of art fan, and Salvador Dali, I kind of fell in love with him at a young age. So more of a personal one. Yeah. And then lastly, I think my goal would be to allow my heart to change. If I'm being totally honest, a lot of times I feel like I can be selfish and I can think about me a lot of times, but in my heart of hearts, the real me loves, the real me cares, the real me sacrifices. And so if I could be that to those around me, that'd be a win.
Well, we talked earlier today about your parents, what you were like as a child, the great, incredible success you had as a student educationally. And after the answer that you just shared with us about what you'd like to have in that bucket list, once again, it talks about making a difference in the lives of those that need it most. So as we wrap this up, just a couple more questions. I'd like to say to you, is there one thing as a dad, you've got 3 children now, as a dad, you've got to remember, I want to make sure that they've got the education, they're respectful, they're kind, they're courteous, they're just committed, but at the same time, they enjoy, they're happy, they're whatever. So I'm going to give you the opportunity right now, again, in 3s. You got 3 letters in that name, Sam, so we'll take SAM. Tell me what they might be. Those 3 things that come to mind that are most important, that you as a dad or you as a speaker, you've got an assembly in front of you, kids that are 8, 10, 12, 14 years old. What are you going to say to them? What's the message? What are the 3 most important things that you need to let them know now that you're 32 years old? What's coming up? What's going to be like when they're an adult?
Yeah, well, as a dad, and I'll keep this short, train up a child in the way he should go, and when he gets old, he won't depart from it. So for me, I think about training my child, right? Giving them the example, number 1. Number 2, it's love, right? Not being overly harsh towards my children. As parents, as coworkers, we'd have high expectations, loving them well. And lastly, being honest with them and about my flaws, about my fears, about times where I've made mistakes. I think that idea of like really training someone, loving them and teaching, right? Loving, teaching, and then lastly, that humility, that honesty of doing life with somebody.
Well, I tell you what, we've never met, but you're a rock star in my eyes. I'm real proud of some of the things that you've shared with us today, and especially how it deals with our future generation, the children of today that are going to be the adults of tomorrow that are going to be calling the shots when you and I are old and gray. So we better teach them correctly and properly and respectfully and right. And I tell you what, folks, check out the book, Let the World See You. It sounds outstanding. I'm gonna check it out myself. I can't thank you enough. Continued success. Stay healthy, stay strong, stay smart, but most importantly, be the compassionate man that you obviously are. You really are a difference maker, and I hope that other people will see in a calm, courteous, respectful way the importance of civility from one person to the next, despite whatever nationality, religion, race, creed, color they might be. It matters not. Let's come together and make it happen. And you're one of the people that I think is making that happen every single day. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Closing thoughts, my friend? Anything you'd like to share in 10 seconds?
Yeah, no, just thank you so much. Thank you all for joining us at this event. Yeah, there's time, right? Time's not up. There's still time to go and do and love people well, love yourself well, and let people see the real you.
Boy, isn't that the truth? And that's what the Big Bang is all about, making a big bang and making a difference. Sam Acho, thank you, my friend. Continued success. And if you get into broadcasting, give me a call. I'd love to hear it. I'd love to hear it. All right, I'm Scott Murray for Sam Acho. We're going to send it over to Brian Reynolds from Trey Athletes. Stay safe, everybody, and thank you.